Struggling families are using credit cards to pay their bills, but things can get out of hand fast. Up next, why wiping away your debt could be easier than you think. 2 in 5 Americans have maxed out their credit cards. Low savings coupled with inflation and higher prices have created big gaps in household budgets, causing many to reach for their plastic.
And anchor Susan Copen introduces us to a local woman. She was just a day away from bankruptcy, but here's how she got some help. Whole milk okay for you?
Connellsville native Susanna Flesik loves coffee and Halloween. She says that's why more than a decade ago, she let her brother John talk her into a bold business move.
Let's buy the old Crawford School on 7th Street and put a haunted house there.
But the 100-year-old building needed a ton of work.
And utilities on a building this size are just astronomical. It's a lot, and it became overwhelming. It was completely overwhelming.
Then in 2015, Susanna's brother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, leaving her to run the coffee shop and haunted house. At that point, she and her husband were putting unplanned expenses on credit cards.
We had 4, and they were pretty much all practically maxed out. The total was around $22,000, yeah. I was 42 at the time, and I was told that it would be about 30 years. I would be 72 years old when I paid those off, $22,000.
Nonprofit Money Management International says they've seen a 42% increase in the number of people coming to them for credit counseling services this year. Inflation has left many without enough money to cover bills on things like groceries and fuel.
Our average client is now short about $300 a month in their monthly budget. There's a lot of studies that show that most Americans don't have a lot of emergency savings in place. And so when you don't have that to fall back on, a lot of times you turn to credit cards.
Nitsche advises consumers to go to their credit card companies and negotiate for a lower interest rate.
3 in 4 people who asked their creditor for a lower interest rate got it, and that on average it was about a 6 percentage point reduction. So that can really help a lot if you're able to get that interest rate reduced even a little bit so that more of your payments going to principal rather than interest.
Know that you'll have to pay more than the minimum to start shaving away at debt. Susanna enlisted the help of MMI. They worked with her creditors to lower her interest rate, and she paid just over $500 a month to debt.
And I couldn't wait till the day that I could say, this is paid off.
That day came last fall after 5 years. Susanna and her husband had nothing left on the cards. She still uses them for some purchases, but she's careful with her spending.
But I make sure it's paid off every month before the due date or on the due date, and I've been diligent with that.
Susan Copen, Channel 11 News.
Although the initial debt counseling was free, Susanna did pay a monthly fee to MMI for their negotiation services, and she says for her, it was worth it to get the lowest possible interest rate on all 4 of her credit cards.